Okay guys, I have a Wilson US Open 2018 and a 2019. From everything I know, this ball is going to play about the same as last year. The big change was last year. When there's a big change, my guy from Wilson gets to me. He got to me last year. He said, Drew, this is during qualifying week, the early part of qualifying week. We got some news for you. Heavier felt, a bigger ball. I hurried up and got myself a ball, checked it out. It was bigger. The felt did look stronger, but more than that, I watched the play all week, and it was a heavier ball, and it was, the felt was catching on the surface, sitting up good, and I knew right then that this was going to be the slowest ball we've ever seen for the Wilson US Open. This year, nobody's gotten to me, okay? So I'm not being told anything. This is not unusual. It's happened other years. What it means is there's not much to say. Now, manufacturing is always changing, improving things. There might be some very slight differences, but it has to be minimal, or I would expect it, I would have been told. So, what I have right now and what I've watched, I got myself a ball right away the first day, as I put up on the video on Twitter. And by the way, guys, for you guys that like my YouTubes, go to my Twitter, same thing, Tennis Crier, Drew at Tennis Crier, and you'll get a whole bunch of little videos, 2 minutes or less, there about a whole bunch of stuff throughout the weeks. Anyway, so what I do know is I got this ball, and this was on a video I put up the first day after qualifying, the first night, right after the first day of qualifying. The 2019 is slightly bigger than the 2018. It's not a lot. It's very, and you can look, I show different angles in the video on Twitter if you want to go to that. But I checked it out. It's just very slight. I don't even really want to talk anymore about it. The big change was it was the size difference, and I don't have my 2017 with me, but that difference was bigger than this difference. So the ball's big again. Let's just leave it at that. I can do this for you. I can hold it in my hand and say which is heavier, and I'll get to that in a minute, because the ball may be a little lighter than last year. So it's a tad bigger. It may also be a tad lighter, and the reason I'm saying that is the anomaly I noticed, and I sent this to my guy, and he hasn't gotten back to me on it, but it seemed that on Friday, with a lot of cloud cover and a cooler temperatures, the ball should have been slower than it was. I was a little surprised it still seemed pretty quick, but that could be about the surface more, and I'll get to that later. And there's also barometric pressure, things that go into the climate that nobody talks about. Everybody talks about temperature, which is very important, humidity, which is somewhat important, but barometric pressure is a huge thing. I used to talk to a meteorologist about this. That's for another video, but that has something to do with stuff too. But anyway, I'm wondering if this ball is a little lighter this year, and that can be with air compression or with the rubber content, which could slightly change. I'm going to drop these two balls here, okay? This isn't going to help much, and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so you blatantly see the 2019 popping up a lot more, okay? Well, that's because the 2018 is a year old. It's lost a lot of air compression. So I'm just showing you, it is true. Air compression does leave the ball. People that play tennis know this, okay? The other thing that can happen is it can be manipulated by the manufacturer. So possibly the 2019 may have a little more air compression, I don't know. The other thing you can do is weigh the rubber content. Now we'd have to take the felt off to do that accurately. I can hold it in my hands and say which one's heavier. I can't really tell. And it wouldn't matter what I'd say. It feels like 2018 may be a little heavier, but that's wild speculation. I would have to just say this. I saw it playing a little faster than expected on Friday. So I'm wondering if it's a little lighter in some effect, either with the air or with the rubber content. It's not the felt. The felt looks very much similar. If you guys you can't tell by that, but anyway, so what I'm going to make my final conclusion as we head into tomorrow is this. This is based much more on the playing that I saw than me holding the balls. I do know it's a teeny bit bigger, but no big deal. So what I'll say is, slowest Wilson US Open ball ever, well, at least in modern times, and the biggest one for sure. And so it's the same as last year, basically. Maybe a little this, a little that, but basically it's slow again. It's big, and that's going to be my conclusion. The heavier felt, but again, it's not going to be as heavy as a pen, because a pen's felt does not rip away, and it's a little bit heavier rubber in general. So it's heavy for a Wilson, but still probably not quite as heavy as the pen. But so it will be able to be spun and bounced up more. It's a little more variable. You can spin it up and bounce it up more, or you can keep it flat more. But it is definitely on the Wilson end. It's a heavier ball for Wilson again this year.